Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, DPalm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. Follow the entire MTR network at the MTR network. You found us, don't lose us. Subscribe in the iTunes store. Subscribe anywhere your podcasts are given away for absolutely free. Leave those 5-star reviews. We'll read them on the air. Whatever you want us to say, we will say. Even mean things about my teams, though sometimes they earn it. Not going to lie. Yeah, I'm not going to do a whole bit of preamble here. It's been kind of a takeover tech weekend, and I'm here talking again to Kriss, editor-in-chief here at MTR Network. What's up, Kriss?
What's going on, man?
Look, man, I'm saying, like, we had all the Super Tuesday stuff. I was on the flagship this week in Sanity Check, and here we are talking sports. And, yeah, I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad to have you on after where, like, sports and politics were, like, loudly colliding, like the Nike shit, and all that stuff's kind of died down. So you and I can have fun talking about things that make us angry about the sports we love.
If you guys can't tell my voice, I'm like, because you're right. Usually when we come on, it's like I watch sports all the time, but it's like I'm just usually like just here just because. But we usually end up talking about like politics stuff. No, this is gonna be sports.
It's so funny. Like behind the scenes, I send all my guests a list of the topics for the week. Obviously, they change throughout the week. And I sent it to Kriss, and I was like, why do I even bother? We're not going to talk about anything I suggested. And the one note I got back from Kriss was, hey, can we please make sure to talk about UFC? So let's start there. Ultimate Fighting, the Octagon, what should be the crown jewel of MMA has turned into a sideshow in like 18 months.
It has completely come into a shit show. And I mean, look, it was a long time coming, and I always defend Dana White up front because I believe that you needed somebody like Dana White up front to get MMA in the mainstream. Like you needed somebody to punch him in the mouth, to fight back, to be that guy. But when it came time to like really go like super legit, it was time to kind of fall back. When I believe they sold Zuffa, so once Zuffa got sold and they left Dana White there, I was like, I have a feeling we might be in trouble. And folks, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
It's so funny because I had you on, I think, right before the new year, and we talked about kind of the way UFC was trending and how things didn't look great for some of the books. And like you've looked at like how fights are being made and how things are negotiated, and as the treatment of the athletes are becoming more and more paramount, it was hard to say there's a bright future in UFC. And it's kind of like here we are in September, damn near October, and you look at like what's coming up at the end of this year, it feels like a lot of the chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah, no. There's got to be a lot of people that are basically going, "I told you so." Dana White and all of them. Everything's coming crashing down. And while it wasn't the start of it,
Mm-hmm.
John Jones getting popped for the second or third time. Can't remember one. Doesn't really matter at this point. But John Jones getting popped again after last time was the final straw, I think, because that's when because at this point between that and the McGregor thing, which I'm still kind of shocked McGregor's coming back.
I cannot believe it.
Well, I think he must be broke. I think the rumors about him,
which is why I cannot believe it.
I think the rumors about him getting in trouble when he went overseas somewhere and he started messing with the wrong. I think his mouth got him in trouble, and I think he lost a lot of money. He owes a lot of people money because it makes no sense that he would go back to the UFC because the UFC cannot pay him as much money as he made during that Mayweather fight. But what happened was UFC began focusing on they became boxing. And my whole problem with boxing, I love the sport of boxing. People think I hate the sport of boxing. I love combat sports. Boxing became more about the personality than the fights. And while UFC has kind of been a mix of both, they would sometimes go too far. They would protect some fighters. Yeah. Now it's a complete shit show where nothing matters anymore. Titles don't matter. Number one rankings. Like I've never seen a sport come up with rankings that didn't matter so fast. They came up with that ranking system, and within a year, it didn't matter anymore.
It's so funny because I always say that UFC, you're right. What happened to boxing was pay-per-view and WrestleMania. once an annual event was coming every year that they could orchestrate and they could plan for, boxing's like, we got to be bigger than just a sport. And so they try to chase these the once you try to chase like a figurehead for your division, then some of the integrity has to be chopped away. Because you're trying to control the narrative too much. What you do is you treat it like, what happens is, because what Vince McMahon has done with pro wrestling is by and large incredible, these fight game people get so enamored with looking at what a fight game can be without realizing that that's a different product. That's entertainment. You've got to model yourself after sports. You got to be an NFL or a tennis even. You got to let the stars come to you. You can't say, hey, we're not going to push certain fighters because they don't have the quote unquote personality. No, you hunt down the things that make them personality. Don't be baseball. Like, I don't know who Mike Trout looks like. I can tell you that Klay Thompson has a new beard and looks ridiculous. The personalities will find themselves. These people are individuals. Maybe some of your fighters like to play video games. Sell that.
I still fully believe that DJ got robbed his last fight, and
everyone doesn't talk about DJ, I hope. So
I think that because it didn't make sense. It's like whatever. But I would feel less about it being robbed and feel less. I would feel less about it if I didn't know that Dana White kind of didn't fuck with DJ. And I'm also noticing this pattern where he kind of doesn't fuck with a lot of the black athletes, because apparently the same thing's going on with Tyron Woodley, where Dana White doesn't fuck with them because they're not giving him enough of the it factor, the wow factor to sell. And I'm like, that's not their job.
So you pay me to fight.
Like you said, and you're absolutely right. Once UFC started getting in bed with wrestlers, and it's not saying wrestling, and I'm not saying that wrestling's not a sport. Obviously it is. Obviously they're athletes, but they're entertainers too. Right. And once Dana White started entertaining that stuff,
no, it's not even Dana White's fault, because you know what happened? He let Vince McMahon trick him into thinking he was in the entertainment business.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like you're not.
It's happened a lot. Like people are going to say, "Oh, Vince McMahon is largely a showman and a carnival barker, but he's damn good at what he does." And if he can trick you into trying to get into his arena, you won't win.
No,
he invented pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you will not win.
You can't read that. You can't win that fight. And so that's the fight that Dana White and the UFC has gotten themselves into, and now they're stuck. And so there's several things that are happening. One is I can't remember. I don't know what it's not the next pay-per-view. The next pay-per-view is the McGregor fight, which I'm not watching. I'm not doing this. You're not. First of all, you're rewarding a guy who literally got another fighter injured.
Kriss, you and I can say that, and you can be really upset. We also know they have no choice.
No, you're right. You've now made it so that he is your breadwinner. He's the only one that can. You're not going to open up the books and show you, but I guarantee you they're looking at it like he's the only one, because they are not promoting it. Like I've heard it. This is the biggest fight of all time. I'm like, what? It's Conor McGregor versus who?
I didn't say his name on the show because I wasn't sure how it's pronounced. I didn't want to fuck it up.
Who? Who? Like,
that's so true.
The biggest fight. Wait, bigger than Son and Silva too. Bigger than what's his name? The dude who beat Silva. Like, bigger than that. You're telling you're bigger than, like, what, when you have to make every fight you do the biggest fight in history, it loses its luster, almost like it loses luster when you have championship belts that don't fucking matter. But it's like, what do you like? I'm literally looking at a thing from UFC, 6 days into the biggest fight in UFC history. What? And UFC history? The biggest fight in UFC.
I didn't know they were saying that. This is news to me.
They are literally saying the biggest. Like, I have no problem against Khabib, I think. But, like, I don't even know how many fights has he fought.
I know nothing about this.
I know he's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's a good fighter. But he's never been a pay-per-view draw. So it's not even like you're getting, like, I give you that Conor McGregor is a pay-per-view draw. Whether you like him or not, he is. Fine. But usually the biggest fight would be reserved when you have two pay-per-view draws.
But maybe the biggest fight is because it's the return of Conor McGregor.
That's it. That's all.
The money's home. Money came home, y'all.
That's all I'm doing. So it's like, what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, this damn sure ain't bigger than his first fight with Jose Aldo.
Nope.
It isn't. So they're now having to do this thing where they're trying to trick their fan base into thinking this. And what they don't seem to understand is the fan base will go somewhere else. We're just like boxing. It's like, we just want to see the fights. This doesn't work on us.
Right.
It doesn't. You know, I'll go and watch.
Because every post they back, they can't control. It's like if the NFL decided that a quarterback was going to be good and we would tell us he was good no matter what, Tony Romo. Whereas we can all see results. If you let the results happen in the fights, guess what? The fans will figure out who's good. And then you push them. This is just, it's so funny and it's so weird and so backwards because they're getting worked now by the WWE openly. So for those of you who don't follow pro wrestling, and God bless you, I get it. At SummerSlam, Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. This was amidst lots of rumors that Brock Lesnar's deal had run out with WWE at WrestleMania. He had worked on a per-date basis. Since then, it had gotten very expensive. He had told the WWE that he was re-entering the drug testing pool so he could go back and fight in the UFC. He even showed up ringside when Cormier won the belt in a very pro wrestling moment and got in the ring. Now,
wait, because you're underselling it. He got in a shoving match.
No, I refuse to sell it further because Cormier smiled during the promo. If you want to be a wrestler, son, you can't smile through your promo.
Right. No, no, you're right. It was very obvious, but you got to sell it in the eye of how bad it was. It was such a bad open promo because Cormier just won the heavyweight title. So now he is a 2-title holding. He holds the light heavyweight title and he holds the heavyweight title. And they decide we're going to throw Brock Lesnar in here because it's not like there's a ton of other heavyweights or light heavyweights that Cormier can follow. Fuck that. We're going to bring Brock Lesnar out of the fuck, which mind you, the other thing too, if you're going to do this promo thing, one, tell Cormier not to smile through the promo. Two, do me a favor. Don't have the cameraman always going and cutting over to Brock Lesnar at every fucking break.
That and if you want to show, like, honestly, and this is one of those things that people think I'm joking. Watch how to build suspense during a live program. Go watch Raw. You may not like the product, but they know how to do it. Cutting to Lesnar the entire fight doesn't build suspense. I'm sorry.
What were you thinking? Like, okay, Brock Lesnar's gonna get in there, right? But then again, at the same time, the other thing is, don't cut the promo if the other guy hasn't signed on the dotted line.
Ooh, man. And that's where the working starts. Because first of all, during that promo, it made me appreciate what a good pro wrestler Brock Lesnar is. Because he let all that promo happen, and he didn't break. Cormier couldn't keep a smile on, because spoilers, Cormier is also a huge pro wrestling fan. So this was like a dream for him.
Right, he's a fan.
Like, he's like, cut the promo! Like, no, go time it up, son. Like,
Cormier's having a fanboy moment, all right?
No, that was...
This is the first time I interviewed Clark Gregg for Agent of Shield. It's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but like, you're Agent Coulson, like, what? You know, and he's all calm, and I'm like, I'm just cheesing, like, oh fuck, I'm interviewing.
So what Kriss is referring to is that Brock Lesnar never signed a contract with the UFC. How do we know this? Because Brock Lesnar showed up at Hell in the Cell 2 weeks ago, F5ing everyone, and with a beard and basically announcing that he's back for a longer run in WWE. The UFC was used by Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. to increase the visibility of Brock Lesnar so that his reappearance on WWE television would pop bigger. And guess what? It worked. Don't step in the ring with this man. Not in this realm. He knows what he's doing.
So that happens, right?
Which is so, by the way, it's the most like, it's very funny that it's happening in 2018 because that's some like old school pro wrestling territory shit. Like, oh yeah, our star will be there, ha ha ha, and have him no-show the town. Like, this is how you sabotage a territory.
Like, first of all, all right. Like you said, don't fuck with Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon. Like we see the XFL, we're like, see. No, you're right. When Vince McMahon steps out of his element, he's a fucking idiot. And
Yeah,
you're
with
like,
that said, the camera on the string behind behind the plays,
I know the NFL does it now.
it's so weird, like the little things they took over from presentation, because at his core, Vincent Kennedy McMahon is a television guy.
He knows his shit.
TV.
Like you can laugh at him, but he knows his shit. And there, again, I noticed that too. Like, oh wait, you guys laugh, and the XFL was a failure, but you guys did take a lot of the shit they did
Of shit like that
to make it a more entertaining product. But whatever. All right, cool. All right, but don't mess with his own thing, right? So shortly after Brock Lesnar, so that happens, right? And then they were trying to figure out why, like a month later, like a few months later, like a month ago, that's when the whole USDA thing comes out, where all of a sudden they kind of reverse the decision and find John Jones was not at fault for
not only not at fault, but whatever it was could not have enhanced his performance. This comes within 10 calendar days of the Brock Lesnar reappearance in WWE. Chris, I'm not saying that maybe UFC has gone the way of boxing, but whole lot of tomato cans.
Because here's the thing, I don't even know if that came out before the Brock Lesnar thing. I think it happened, the USDA thing happened, and then the Brock Lesnar thing happened, and then all of a sudden you're starting to see the talks about Cormier and because here's the thing, if you don't follow, I hear about wrestling because you talk about wrestling, so that lets me. I see these things. So if you retweet something or something like that involving wrestling, I see it. So if you're a UFC fan, you might not have seen the wrestling thing about Brock Lesnar coming back. You might not have known about it. So you're all of a sudden wondering why all of a sudden are we talking about Cormier and Jones 3, even though Jones, like, why is this wrestling? Oh, Jones can fight in October, as early as October 20th. Like, why are we talking about Jones all of a sudden now? I mean, yeah, he's a great fighter and everything like that, but 2 strikes, you're out. Like, why are we worried about this? And Cormier wants one big fight to get out. Why would he do that? What's going on? And then I saw the Brock Lesnar thing, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, you guys got played. You guys got played. And now
maybe they didn't get played by the WWE like totally, but they definitely got played by Brock, who definitely negotiated a better contract with the offer. He definitely. I don't know if Vince pulled the strings. I do know Brock fucks everyone.
I mean, because why not? Why wouldn't you?
Well, people forget that, like, on television, his manager is Paul Heyman. In real life, his manager is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's done this for a very long time.
So you're playing with guys that, but this goes back to what the UFC has done now. They've given power to these, and again,
not all, some of the athletes.
But that's a problem, right? It'd be one thing if you're saying all the fighters in the UFC have this kind of power. They don't, though. And so what happens is you got to play favorite. If Dana White plays favorites, and the management of UFC plays favorites. So you'll have a fighter like, let's say, what's his name? One of these fighters who was number one in the middleweight division, but never fought for the title. And so he wants to keep fighting, so he keeps fighting. Every now and then he would lose a fight, and then he wouldn't get the title shot because he got lost a fight. But it's like he would never get a chance to actually fight for the title, even though he was number one. It was that kind of shit when they gave Michael Bisping that fight with Georges St. Pierre, which again was another job, because here's to go, you have Michael Bisping who he does beat Luke. I think he beat Luke Rockhold. Didn't get a rematch. Luke Rockhold didn't get a rematch. Bisping decides to then fight an aging 45 or plus year old Dan Henderson as his first title defense, and then his third fight was the super fight between him and Georges St. Pierre, which at that time they also titled the biggest fight in UFC history. See what they're doing here? Amazing. Even though Bisping hadn't heard it, even though GSP hadn't fought in like 2 fucking years and was moving a weight class up. Not surprising though, GSP still beat Michael Bisping.
Well, I think we've seen evidence and proof that the UFC is not about the sport anymore. It's about the headline. Case in point, John Jones, with his eventual, I guess, looming reinstatement, they've already started taking shots at each other, him and Cormier, on social media, with John Jones pointing out rightly that, I guess, based on the new findings, I didn't beat you in hands, I just beat you. And Cormier, rightly says, he called him a snitch, which I think is a weird claim here, and we could talk about the USDA findings later. But they're going for the headline because that's all this is. This is a headline because the dirty secret of this headline is that Daniel Cormier cannot beat John Jones.
Yeah, but that's the problem right there. That's a problem with Cormier Jones 3 is that nobody believes that Daniel Cormier can beat John Jones. Honestly, nobody believes anybody in that light heavyweight division can beat John Jones. Even with Jones off, because here's the thing: John's been off, but John still trains. Like, remember the last time he took off, he came back looking like a fucking freak of nature.
Different human being, yeah.
He was a completely different fucking human being. Like, he was just like, fucking dude. Like, maybe he is on steroids. Like, so you have a champion now of two divisions where, like, I feel bad for Cormier because, like, he is right. John Jones shouldn't get a title shot. He shouldn't be even brought back in the UFC because he's burned them twice now. And Cormier's now seeing what was going to be submitting his legacy. He's not going to be going out because it's like, well, dude, you're not going to be able to beat Jones. Nobody believes you can beat Jones. You have to fight him a third time. And at this point, I don't know if anybody is falling for John Jones, Daniel Cormier 3. Like, there's nobody else in that light heavyweight division. Why not have John's work? Like, if you really believe, like, as far as I'm concerned, John shouldn't fight. If he comes back, he shouldn't fight for a title. Have him do a couple fights beforehand to prove that he's going to be fucking clean. The last
you know why you do that? Because that's the money. That's the story. Not the immediate hot shotting you do a title shot. You let him earn his way back. He wins 2 light fights really quickly. He maybe fights a big contender, and then you get the 4th fight. Stop racing. You want to learn something from Vince McMahon? You build to the match they're going to pay for. You don't give it away on free.
Well, that's the crazy thing about this whole thing is because, like, you guys could make more money. Like, John Jones can't. Like, the other problem with the UFC right now is they don't believe that they have, and it's basically the same problem that Bellator had. There's a reason why Bellator is where I like to call where UFC fighters go to die, because Bellator, what they do is they'll scoop up older fighters, right? So now Bellator is also running Vanderlei Silva versus Rampage Jackson 3, and I'm like, nobody wants to see these 2 aging ass fighters fight for a third time. Nobody wants to see that shit. We don't care. Like, they fought in like 10 years ago. Like, nobody cares about seeing this. I mean, it's a little bit better than the fucking Tito Ortiz versus what's his name? Why am I going blank on that one? Shit. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's like, I can't believe they're doing that fight. Like, nobody wants to see that shit. But this is the problem that Bellator had with Bellator had a bunch of Bellator has some really good talent. I think a lot of people I'm sorry, I had to check that. It's Chuck Liddell. So they're doing Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 3. Bellator's
wait. I'm sorry, what?
Oh yeah. That's under is it Golden Boy? Not Golden Boy. Golden Boy is Oscar. Yeah, I think it's Oscar De La Hoya is now getting the MMA business. He's promoting a Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz 3. Yeah, no, they're really doing it. I think it's fucking.
Where are they? What regulatory bodies letting this happen?
I don't know.
Still.
Yeah. Golden Boy Promotion is doing it. Liddell versus Ortiz 3 is November 24th, and it's on pay-per-view. Nobody's buying that. I'm sorry. If you buy that, seriously, buy premium at MTR Network. We'll be way more entertaining. But anyway, going back to Bellator, Bellator's problem is they actually have a lot of good actual talent there. Like, when you look beyond the aging UFC fighter fights they put together, they have some really good talent. They just never fucking developed them. And so people go, well, these people can't run a pay-per-view. It's like, well, nobody can run a pay-per-view until they win. Nobody runs a pay-per-view until you have to build the name up. If you're so what gets me about this is it's this idea that, like, you can learn a lot of lessons from Vince McMahon if you wanted to, right?
Bellator is basically 1998 WCW.
Right. You could learn the lesson, and part of me thinks that Bellator is doing that because the smart thing Bellator has done is they did that one pay-per-view fight thing. It kind of didn't work for them. They tested it out. We're like, oh, okay. They haven't really done, like, they do them every now and then, but they don't do a pay-per-view every month or 2 in a month like UFC does. Bellator is actually taking their time, and don't be surprised if Bellator comes back in and suddenly is a better product than UFC because they are kind of slowly building their way up there. But again, the problem that they're still having is they're not really building their talent underneath there. And what kills me is Vince McMahon and WWE did that though. So you're looking at the bottom line, you're looking at the entertainment aspect, you're looking at the money they're bringing in, but you're also ignoring the fact that like you can go from a nobody to being a somebody if there's a story to tell, and they tell that story. Like they find a way to sell people.
This is a reminder that Vince McMahon sold the rights to SmackDown, one of his shows, to Fox for 10 years for $1 billion.
But
in December, the stock price for WWE, I think it's 5 years ago, it was like $13. It's somewhere in the 70s now.
Like think about this. Let's go back to DJ, former flyweight champion. Still should be
flyweight. Yeah, we know.
Right. Should get a remake. Because again, I like how when somebody beats a long-standing champion in a split decision, and all of a sudden they're calling for a super fight. And I'm like, no, you get a immediate rematch because the champion.
That's a mandated rematch. Yeah,
it's a mandated rematch. But whatever. You look at DJ. This is a guy who doesn't get in trouble. You never have anything about him putting his hands on his wife or saying anything stupid. Not a MAGA hat wearing motherfucker or anything like that. Good, clean dude. Awesome fucking fighter. Plays video games. Nigga, why? You can get Twitch. Fortnite.
This is a fast-growing industry. There's so much money, but they're not creative on how they make money in UFC. They don't want to be creative.
You're telling me, oh well, he doesn't sell fights, because you're not trying to have him sell fights. Like this is a guy who he'll get that nerd group. Like you can bring in so many people if you built something around him, but they don't do that. They don't try to build around any of the fighters. Go ahead.
Funnily, alternately enough, WWE saw that Xavier Woods, Austin Creed, liked video games. They backed his up, down video game YouTube channel. He's now like on the floor at E3, on the floor at all these big conventions. He's doing wrestling promos while playing Street Fighter at EVO. And I guess they won the Guinness Book of World Records most viewed celebrity gaming YouTube account.
You have a bunch of these people that they're good at commentary, they're good at fighting, they have podcasts. Like so many of their fighters have things because they have to have other income streams to keep themselves going. And the UFC doesn't look at any of that stuff to kind of promote them. They go with the simple of super masculinity. He's gonna beat his ass, and that's what you're gonna do. I'm like, you have no. That's the only fighter they can do. They can only sell the Conor McGregors. They can only sell the John Jones versus Cormier threes which by the way, that rivalry started off as a gimmick. Mm-hmm. It wasn't real. It became real because John Jones fucked it up, but like it was all jokes. They sell a thing. That's the reason why Nick Diaz is one of my favorite fighters, because Nick Diaz didn't want to fucking play that game. Nick Diaz was like, "No, man, I'm just here to fucking fight. I'm not here to sell your fight. I'm not here to do this. It's not what I'm not going to sit here and go to this thing. I'm here to sell. You want me to come out here and do all this stuff and play this game with you, and you guys still aren't going to pay me and give me the fights I need? Fuck that. I ain't doing all that shit, you know?" And like, you're seeing that they're kind of right. Like the UFC, like the biggest fight of all time is only happening now because you're bringing Conor McGregor back. If this dude was fighting anybody else and it wasn't Conor, they wouldn't be saying that. Hell, they might not even put it on pay-per-view. That's how they do. It's fucking ridiculous.
You're 100% right. Let's talk about some other things that are problematic at the UFC right now, as their big kind of reclamation project has been making his way through, I guess, the lower ranks. So last night at an XFN event in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greg Hardy won a 53-7 knockout of Rasheem Jones. He's now 3-0 in pro, 3-0 in amateur. All 6 fights have ended versus first-round TKO. UFC is pushing him heavy on their app.
What was his amateur record?
3-0.
I mean 4-0, actually.
See? Wow. Anyway, wow. They pushed this event, this XFN event, on the UFC Pride Pass, and also get the push on the UFC app. For those of you who don't know, Greg Hardy is I believe the phrase is underpaid piece of shit. He was found guilty on domestic violence charges in 2014, had the charges dropped on appeal when the victim did not show up for the retrial. 2015 saw him have the charges expunged from his record, and then Deadspin put all the pictures in the world, and he couldn't get a job in the NFL, and that's how we got to where we are. Dana White, who was once famously saying the one thing you can never come back from is putting your hands on a woman, is now providing the launching pad for this man to come back and putting his hands on a woman. Kriss.
Because he's full of shit.
I mean, well, hold on. This is the same guy who said there'll never be a woman fighting in MMA or in UFC, and we saw what happened there. So we all know Dana White's full of shit. But this feels like something you shouldn't be full of shit about. Should there be a hard line? Should there be? I'm not saying he doesn't have a right to anything. He has no right to earn a living doing this. But I think that them giving them the platform and acting like this never happened, or that he's some sort of changed man without any sort of sign of outward contrition or actual action, it's disgusting.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like he has never shown any kind of remorse.
He denies it happened.
Right. He denies he put his, and we all know it happened. So that's what the problem with Greg Hardy is that, and I guarantee you that is the jujitsu that Dana White is pulling with this is, well, he denies it happened. It got expunged from his record, so it didn't really happen. So we can pretend this basically if somehow the dude War Machine we didn't have images of that and he didn't beat his girlfriend like that, then he would have been back in the UFC.
Yeah, this is basically confirmation of that. You're right.
That's basically what you're saying, and which I'm at this point I'm not shocked by. Again, going back to Conor McGregor, it's Conor McGregor, his little antic against that bus where he threw something he got another fighter injured, and another fighter could not fight.
He cost the company money.
Cost the company money, and he's getting rewarded with the biggest fight of all. Again,
the biggest fight of all time.
This is the thing that if you're a fighter in the UFC, you've already had issues before. Now you're literally seeing what people have been saying for the longest time. What used to be kind of in the background, not really said out loud, that there are playing favorites, which everybody knows. Any company you're working, they're going to be favorites. We all know that. Now you're seeing it work overtime, where you now start questioning things. Because I've seen fighters openly question the USDA thing, like who got bought off. How is John Jones coming back? This is completely unfair. This makes no sense, right? You're seeing people say that. I don't probably say the same thing about how did Conor McGregor not go to jail? He literally injured somebody. How did he get a slap on the wrist? And then how is he coming back into the UFC? He basically didn't even get suspended from the UFC for that shit. So how is any of this shit working? It doesn't.
We know how it works, but by knowing how it works, it delegitimizes them as an actual sport.
Yeah. You're full of shit. I mean, it's just at this point, I watch it every now and then. There's a fight that I really like. I think I bought the whatchamacallit fight, the DJ fight. I did buy that and watch that because I like DJ as a fighter. But at that point, unless I really, really like somebody, if it's not free, I'm not watching. I'm not paying for it. I'm not giving these people my money because, as far as I'm concerned, they've completely lost track. And until they get back into doing what matters, which is the fights. They have the last thing is the whole thing about they're trying. I can't remember what the fight is. It's not 263. I've lost track of the numbers for these UFC fights. They have an upcoming pay-per-view event, and I think it's at Madison Square Garden, and they don't have a title fight because people have gotten injured and things like that. So they're now talking about making a interim title, and that might be having an interim title fight. And I'm just like, the interim titles were for when you had a champion that is the undisputed champion, and let's say they got an injury and they've been out for an extended period of time. I was over a year, not within the same year. Not like you were going to fight in January, got injured, and he's not going to be able to recover and be fighting until October. It used to be that, all right, fine, until it's 2 years, we're not going to do an interim title. Now it's in that case, they will literally do that. They will make an interim title. You had one of the ladies, I think she was a flyweight, and she missed weight and couldn't make the fight. They stripped her of her title. Who gets a pass and who doesn't get a pass is so blatant now in the UFC. It's ridiculous. And then they make these stupid little interim titles because they think people are stupid enough to go, oh, I wasn't going to. So they have so little faith in the fighters themselves and the names and what they promote. They have to put interim title there as if it fucking matters. It's a good fight. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if it's for a title. What the fuck does at this point? What the fuck does the title mean anyway? Because you guys have made it worthless.
Right.
So
If you're banning them just because you don't have one on the card, that's a problem.
I think at one point, I swear to God, there was a title holder. They got injured. They made an interim title. The original title holder was still injured. The interim title holder got injured. So people were like, "So you're gonna make an interim title for the interim title? Like, what are you gonna do?"
I'm sure they considered it. They had a meeting. There was a conference call.
Yeah, they were definitely a call. They definitely considered it. Fuck them.
The UFC, man. They had it. They had it. They really had it. And then their eyes got too big, man. Their eyes are like, "Ooh, look at all this stuff." No, do what you're doing. Keep grinding. Keep building stars the right way, and you could have paid off. But now we're here in this no man's land between actual competition and WWE. Something that is actual competition and not at all staged, I hope. Tiger Woods came back, y'all. And I know there's been a lot of people telling you we're going to throw cold water. He's got to win a major. Fuck you. Winning golf tournaments are hard. Winning them wire to wire like Tiger did at Eastlake down the road from here, harder. Tiger Woods is not just coming off of course, the tabloid headlines and all the golf clubs through windows. But you got to remember, this is a guy who just 17 months ago had spinal fusion surgery. This is a guy who, if his back breaks down again, it's a wrap on golf. More recently, he got arrested for a DUI and checked himself in a rehab center. But I'm going to be honest. I keep the Tiger Watch Twitter account. I follow it, even in the lean times. Because look, when it's bad, look, I want to know. I want to know if I need to turn the television on. But something you notice watching that Twitter account this summer is a lot better. Like it was always a little better than the last week. So this win isn't like one of those fluke out of nowhere's last gasp of an athlete. I think you may have found a redefinition of what Tiger Woods is, and that should terrify all these young. And that's the other thing is people were openly saying, like, can he keep up with the Dustin Johnsons and Rory McIlroys of the world? Motherfucker, are you serious? Their checks are the size they are because of Tiger Woods.
So first of all, this is gonna sound so bad because I shouldn't be disrespectful, but when somebody says that, I'm like, it's golf.
Yo, that's the realest thing in the world because as proven by the numbers last Sunday where they beat the NF fucking L, Tiger Woods moves the needle. Golf does not.
Right. It's first of all, it's golf. So, and Tiger sells golf. That's the only reason why anybody gives a fuck about golf. So, because nobody like you come home and you watch, nobody watches golf at home.
Well, the thing is, there are people who do watch golf, but that audience is only so big, and I can tell you that number because it's pre-1998 numbers in golf.
Right. And also it's like, when has age ever stopped? Because I'm sorry, I see some of the winners. Like they always look old.
So okay. So that's the thing that I've learned about golf now. I'm going to educate you. Winning majors on both sides of I think it's 30 is 35 is very rare.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It's apparently like you either had it early or you had it late. As we saw with Phil Mickelson last weekend. This weekend he had it early. Phil finished dead ass last in the last round of at Eastlake last weekend. So that's the other thing. Like the Tiger contemporaries, they keep making these Tiger beaters and they keep falling by the wayside. I know Phil Mickelson now more from financial scandal than I do from golf.
Yeah, go figure.
Where are the parents? But yeah, I know people trying to throw cold water on this, and he didn't have a great Ryder Cup this weekend. Guys, Tiger Woods in the winner's circle. Tiger Woods in the red shirt on Sunday, pumping his fist. And if I forget the young man's name because it doesn't matter because he's not Tiger Woods. If he had missed his birdie putt on 18, Tiger Woods would have won the extra $10 million check for winning the Players Playoff. And that's Tiger on the comeback trail. He's already positioned as the favorite at Augusta next year, and I've only gone once to Augusta. I took my dad. It was a great time. If anyone listening to this podcast has some weekend passes for this year at Augusta, I'm dead ass serious at DPalm66. Let's make it happen for me. That's very selfish. I never used a podcast that way. It felt good though. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes you got to do it.
That's what you got to do, man. You got to just can't catch no fish without no bait. And Kriss, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been watching some. I don't watch pregame NFL anything, but I was watching some highlights from yesterday's college football, and at the bottom of the ticker in the corner, it just said LeBron James' first game with the Lakers tonight at 9:30. And I was like, well, I know what I'm doing at 9:30, because as people who've listened to me on this podcast have noted, I am no longer a basketball fan because the Hawks. Though watching Trae Young play this year, take all the shots, will be a lot of fun. I'm in on LeBron as the Lakers, and I want to make this very clear to all Lakers fans. I think I've made it very abundantly clear on social media. I need to say it here. Lakers fans, I am not one of you. I'm not. Fuck your history. Fuck Jack Nicholson. You and I have agreed upon similar goals. The greatness of LeBron James. It happens to benefit you right now. Enjoy it. Do not. I am not one of you people.
Can I just say, like, that's always been me though. Like, I've always like I know that some you guys aren't loyal, you're not loyal to the team. It's like no, because I mean, yeah, it's a team sport, but like nobody gives a shit. Like even if your team sucks now,
Mm-hmm.
you are a member, you are a fan of that team because at some point there was a player or somebody who was good, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why you were a member. That's why you cared about the team. That's what it is. I have no loyalty to teams, I'm loyal to a person.
I'm
So
still loyal to teams because I'm an idiot. That's
I mean,
to an extent. Like, of course, I'm a LeBron fan. I go to Hawks games. I cheer for the home team. I'm a good fan in that way.
no, you're right. You're right. I mean, there's always going to be something like home. To me,
Home is home. Yeah.
home is home, and that to me is different. When it comes to everything outside of that, though, it's like, no, guys, you're like I was a fan of the Bulls because they had fucking Jordan and Pippen on it. I'm gonna hate. No, it's like the greatest player of all time. Yeah. Now, and LeBron James is like he's LeBron James. Like this dude clearly looking at everything else he's done outside of basketball in like 6 months, you're like, the dude can do anything. So yeah, I'm a fan of LeBron James. Like, I think LeBron. You know what I'm so LeBron's now doing his next part of his career where he's in a Laker, right? You know what I'm actually excited about now, completely outside of sports.
What's
I
up?
want to see I want to see what retired LeBron does.
Yo,
This is
Tyler
LeBron.
LeBron's about to be a beast, man.
This is LeBron with all the shit he's doing right now. This is LeBron while he's still trying to be the best fucking basketball player of all time. When he doesn't have to worry about that other half, like that small other half he's doing right now, the fuck is he gonna do when he has?
Well, that's the crazy thing is you talk about his retiring. He was by all metrics the best player in the league last year. He played the most minutes of anyone in the league last year, and we're in year 16.
Right? What are we doing?
Never suffered a major injury. He's like he was playing those Olympic teams where he's playing ungodly minutes for team and country, and now he's decided to not play international and just play in the NBA, and he played more minutes than anyone else in the league last year. What are we doing? Like this whole retired LeBron, I'm honestly like, so when do you envision that happening? Because the whole Bronny and Bron playing on the same team or against each other thing, it's gone from joke to like, well, look at the calendar. Let's just see. If they get rid of the one and done rule, like it's really within reach.
Like I don't.
Like he may be around for Bronny's second contract if that happens.
That's the crazy thing. It's like it's 16 years, right?
16.
16 years in the fucking league, and you're looking at him like you're just like, oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah, these young guys, but like,
But they gave him a team full of young guys who are going to do everything he says.
right.
Like that's it. I'm like, people are like these baby Lakers are kind of hard headed. I'm like, if there's someone they're going to fucking listen to, it's LeBron James who brought a title to Cleveland.
Guys. These are young guys who grew up watching LeBron.
Which
You're
is
telling me now they're playing with LeBron, and you're telling me that he's going to have a hard time wrangling them together?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like, say what you will like about Lonzo Ball and that entire fucking family. Lonzo Ball can pass.
And Lonzo Ball's new daddy is named LeBron.
Yo, we may never hear about LeVar again. Like LeVar, whew.
That's Lonzo's team, and Lonzo's like, sir, actually, sir, I don't know who you are. Who's your dad? Like, no, my dad's name is LeBron.
But see, we got the law thing and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
I'll tell you, man. I'm not saying I'm talking myself into the baby Lakers this year. I am saying that looking at the rosters, them finishing third or fourth in the West isn't crazy.
I mean, it's not.
Like they've got LeBron, they've got the Young Bucks, and they got the crew of knuckleheads: Michael Beasley, Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson, and JaVale McGee.
Right.
I want to remind you, 2 of those men have rings. Rondo and JaVale McGee are world champions.
Right.
Lance Stevenson's been to an Eastern Conference Final, playing big minutes for the Pacers, and Beasley's like they're all watching Beasley, so I guess that's gonna help. But yeah, man, this is crazy to me. Like I know I'm wrong. I know we're gonna have our NBA preview later this month. The Lakers will not be good, but they may not be bad. But they will be entertaining, and I will be watching. I'll tell you that much. All right, I had another NBA story, but I just saw something else here. J.R. Smith got a tattoo in the offseason, Kriss.
Who did what?
J.R. Smith. He famously I thought we were winning, which will be on his gravestone. He got a tattoo in the offseason. It's on his leg. And the NBA has determined that they're going to fine him for every game that's not covered. Now, I am against the NBA or any sports league legislating what athletes can put on their own bodies. They stopped it, I believe, in 2001 with a player who wanted to get the Nestle tattoo on his arm. He has Supreme tattooed down his calf, Chris. I'm not saying the NBA is right. I'm saying I get it.
I was gonna ask if it was I was gonna ask if one of those tattoos where they can UV tattoos where he can like flash it to show how much time is left on the clock or something like that. Or,
if it's a helpful tattoo, I think we should allow it.
Yeah, right. It's like,
but he's out here repping Supreme, which I get why we should not be legislating what goes on J.R. Smith's skin. I also get the NBA saying this is not going to start like this. Absolutely the fuck not. I get it. And if you want to say, I'm an asshole, or finally found a place where D-Palm sides and owners, fine. I'll be a hypocrite in this one instance. I get it. Because it's JR, because it's Supreme, I get it.
Here's the thing. I feel like when it's J.R. Smith, allowances have to be allowed. You got to have exceptions to rules of not signing, because usually if it's J.R. Smith, it's like the owners might be right. They might have a point.
Just ask the question.
They might have a point.
Is there freedom of expression to advertise Supreme on your leg?
Just saying.
What's the expression?
Just saying.
And, we are kidding, kind of.
Right.
We're kidding-ish. But it's damn it, JR.
I feel like half of the reason why LeBron is not there anymore is because he got tired of saying.
Did you hear Tristan Thompson say that the road to the East goes to Cleveland? Does he know LeBron left?
I mean, I guess if the road to the East goes to, no, I guess if you're depending on if there's flooding in the Mississippi.
if we're talking Oregon Trail, maybe.
Right. I mean, maybe sometimes I've seen some flights that do fly through Cleveland. So maybe he's. Oh, you meant actually playing basketball through Cleveland? Oh no, sir.
I think he doesn't know LeBron left. Someone should really let him know. Another LeBron-related news: Anthony Davis, the Brow, fired his agent and hired Rich Paul, LeBron's longtime friend and business partner in Clutch Sports. I said when LeBron went to the Lakers, AD will be a Laker in 2 years. I said that in May or June, whenever he signed. I appreciate it now. And with the rumors of Kevin Durant, not even rumors at this point, open talking about Kevin Durant going to the Knicks to, I guess, try to revitalize it or prove that the franchise is cursed when his leg explodes. I'm really enjoying this era of NBA players doing whatever the fuck they want. And at a certain point, we're going to ask the hard question of why do we employ GMs?
No, it's at this. Well, because again, I'm pro letting players determine their own destiny and their own.
It's their body. They should decide how they use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of deciding how your body is used, let's get out of the NBA, talk about a sport that's actually playing right now, the NFL. So the Patriots have opened up very poorly, and it's been much to the delight of most NFL fans. If you like the Patriots, screw you, man. You're a bad person. The story came out this week, or last week, that Rob Gronkowski was going to be traded to the Lions in the offseason, and he only scuttled the trade by threatening to retire. You pair that with what's happening in Pittsburgh with Le'Veon Bell apparently being shopped around because he refused to sign the franchise tender. And you see a lot of fans go to the place of they should do what they're told, they're getting paid. This is where the NBA thing is bleeding over the NFL, and I'm loving it even more. They have much less control in the NFL because there's no guaranteed contracts. But what they do have is providence over their own bodies. Hell, Vontae Davis walked out of the Bills at halftime in game 2.
That was great.
The only people who have a right to be mad are the guys in the field with him. Them, I get. You have every right to be pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Rest of y'all, Kriss, I played football through college. You know how many times I dreamed about quitting? And just saying, like, because there are times, the middle of training camp, you start having these conversations on the sideline. There's more of us than there are them. Like, we could take the coaches. Like, we could run this team. We could do this. We talking? Yeah, all of us. I'll tell you what. We used to trade stories in college about quits because Ivy League football, there are no athletic scholarships. So everyone's really, once you're in, they stop kind of like it's just kind of you're on your own. So kids would quit at Columbia at a much higher pace than I assume other places because scholarships were involved. One of our DBs, who ended up coming back after I graduated, but during practice his sophomore year, we had break in the middle of practice, water break. He said, I'm done. He said, what? I'm done. And he took his helmet and shoulder pads off, left them on the field, went in the locker room, showered, and by the time we had been practicing, he was walking to the subway to go back to campus. And we all kind of were mad at him, but all of us, a little piece of us, were like, man, that's awesome. It's a level of brainwashing that tells you that a man who decides that I shouldn't be on this field, it's dangerous for myself and others, and pulls himself out of the game is somehow doing the wrong thing.
Well, that's always the funny thing about it's a funny thing you see about fans that take this, oh, they should just do what they told. It's like, so like you do when you're at work and you don't demand more for money. And like, it's just, I just find it funny when people both use the logic that this is a job, you do what you're told, and also you don't negotiate and don't sit out for higher pay. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, if my job's not paying me well, then I might quit and go work somewhere else that's going to pay me.
It's crazy how when it's athletes or someone else's bodies, people become the worst capitalists ever.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's free market, baby. Whoa. Entertain me on Sunday, some bitch, and don't kneel while you do it. It's indicative of all the things we talk about, kind of the larger attitudes of fans towards athletes that deep down I think they do hate these athletes, but they love the entertainment, so they have to wrestle with that. Speaking of wrestling with loving and hating things, Cleveland Brown fans, congratulations on your win. Now, some would say that Baker Mayfield got you that win. I wouldn't go that far. Some would say that your opponent, the Jets, playing 3 games in 11 days got you that win. I won't go that far. I will say this. Teams playing at home on Thursday Night Football win in overwhelming amounts. There's your free gambling advice for the year. Bet the home team on Thursday nights because guess what? Playing 2 games in a week, it's really tough. Doing it and flying on a fucking airplane, tougher.
I still don't understand. Still don't understand why we do Thursday games.
You know exactly why.
Well, I mean, I know why, but you know, I know why, but I don't understand why. It's just so stupid.
Well, it's so funny because they say, "Oh, we want to be player safety," and we got things like this sack rule, which we're about to talk about. But at the same time, hey, 2 games in 4 days. What's the problem? And it's just it's really insane to me because the rate of injury, I doubt they're releasing specifically for Thursday night games, but it's got to be considerably higher because your body cannot recover from a football game in 3 days. It just can't be done. And speaking of recovering football games, a Miami Dolphins defensive tackle last week tore his ACL trying not to land on a quarterback he sacked. My anti-quarterback bias is very strong and very well noted on this podcast. You're all just tall kickers. But they are. They're weirdos. But let's be real here. I get why they made the rule. They think that the quarterback's the most profitable position. People watch for scoring, blah, blah, blah. Don't drive in the ground. But you've seen these hits, man. Like, these aren't penalties. They're just hits.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
Like, and I'm the first one to tell you that, like, I'm worried about concussions. I'm worried about the cumulative damage of football. But the noises you hear when big hits happen, those are generally pads. They're designed to take that impact. Here you go. The noises, the ones you don't hear, those are the bad hits.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? Those are the ones that are really bad hits, are the ones you don't hear. The ones that
go through the stadium.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's so crazy to me. And now I get what they're doing because Aaron Rodgers went down last year and the league reacted in a way. But now we've turned into a place where I don't know what you want to do. Aaron Donald tried to get around it on Thursday night by tackling the quarterback by swinging him by his jersey like he was a child because Aaron Donald's amazing. But that's going to cause whiplash or something. Like that's not a safe way to take someone down. I don't know where the league goes with this, but I do know something's got to change. And I also know that they've got to be more cognizant of the things they're asking these players' bodies because you get situations like we already talked about, Le'Veon Bell, Rob Gronkowski. Earl Thomas, who did not practice last week before the Cowboys game for the Seahawks, said, I'm not playing. If I'm not practicing, if one thing's wrong with me. If I got a headache, I don't practice. He says, I've got to invest in my long-term future since this team won't. Because from a strictly economic perspective, if they don't give him money, if they're paying him for this year, he says he'll play on Sundays. But if they're not paying him past this year, their monetary bet is that he has no value past this year. So guess what they're going to do? Run the tread off the tires. Earl Thomas says, I'm not going to let you do that to me. If you have a problem with that, take a real hard look in the mirror as to why. Because only one of these two things is a limited commodity. The team doesn't go away. The player's health and body does. Last thing about the sack rule. Look, Falcons Saints was ruined because of it. Drew Brees would have been stopped. This shit. Chris, I don't know if you saw it. Chris, they had Drew Brees, noted scrambling quarterback. He gets hit at the 3 by 2 Falcons, who both half hit him. He spins off him and scores a touchdown. Tied the game and eventually beat us in overtime. I'm an offensive lineman, Chris. I should be supporting things that protect the quarterback. I'm also a football player. Fuck that noise. Falcons should not have lost that game.
I mean, it's getting to. This is why, honestly, I don't watch football anymore. I watch Twitter, and I get my updates from Twitter.
It's just as good as watching the game.
You get all the updates. You get all the updates. You get all the updates from Twitter, and you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about actually watching the games or anything like that. It worked out pretty well, you know.
It's a pretty good plan. I would suggest everyone do this for the Monday night games because Jason Witten's a robot and should not be calling football games. And it's very scary to watch a robot describe live action. It's very unsettling. All right, so let's tackle some of the college football scores and get the hell out of here. Columbia was on national television on ESPN on Friday night playing Princeton at Morningside Heights, and we got stopped. Princeton won 45-10. Columbia suffers their first loss of the young season. 2-1, number 1 in your hearts, number 1 in your programs. The Columbia Lions. On the upside, they don't go to Princeton, so big win there. Do you have any? Certain people have come on this show with lots of harsh talk about Ivy League caring about football. No jokes.
I got nothing. I'm not them. I do not speak for them.
I appreciate that from you. Let's start in the SEC where real football is played. Georgia beat Tennessee 38-12. Slow going early for the Bulldogs, but they pulled it out late. Louisiana Raging Cajuns lost to Alabama 56-14. In a game that looked like it'd be good on paper, Ole Miss lost to LSU 45-16. I am super nervous about Georgia going to play in Baton Rouge at night because those Bayou people, they just drink all day. All they do is drink, and then they're rowdy for nighttime, and then you got to deal with it. I don't know. It makes me very upset. Southern Miss loses to Auburn 24-13.
Upset or is it jealousy?
No, to the point where I was at LSU Auburn during a day game a couple years ago for a bachelor party, and they were nuts. And I was like, well, this place at night, because all you got to think is these Bayou gumbo mushmouth idiots. They wake up, they drink all day, they eat some sort of fried reptile. They pour into the stadium. They all snuck in booze, so they're drinking more. And then you go watch 18-year-olds play a game. It's a recipe for disaster. And maybe on a premium show, I'll tell you how to sneak into any SEC stadium. All right, Kentucky beat South Carolina, and I'm officially worried about Kentucky. Benny Snell, the running back with all the talk, 28 carries, 99 yards, and Kentucky's undefeated. Kentucky's ranked. God damn it. South Carolina's down, Tennessee's down, Florida's down, the East is wide open. Oh, look, it's undefeated Kentucky. Now I'm nervous about Kentucky, Chris. That's what the football's done to me. someone I'm not nervous about picking up another win. Florida beat number 23 Mississippi State 13-6 in a game that set back offensive football 44 years. Arkansas fell to Texas A&M 24-17. A&M needs to figure out who they want to be because they've been wildly inconsistent, taking the full measure of Clemson earlier in the season, getting mollywopped by Alabama, and then barely squeaking by an Arkansas team that lost to, I believe, Colorado State this year. Not a great showing. And I don't know if you saw this clip. Jimbo Fisher was captured on film communicating directly with a player by grabbing him by the face mask during a timeout and shaking him and screaming in his face.
Well, I didn't watch the clip, but I did see somebody talking about it, and I'm like, they still make those? They still make those? They still make those?
Fisher, it is 2018. No.
You can't do it.
Anyone who's like, oh, that's just not how that's a football coach. No. No coach ever put his hands on me.
Well, it's not supposed to be that way. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes I feel that some of these coaches, and I'm not saying that I feel this way. I know it, that they get into coaching so they can berate and physically assault other people and get called heroes for it. Because to be honest, that's what it is. So when you're physically assaulting somebody, you're grabbing them by their face mask and yanking at them, you're berating them. It's like, yeah, guys, that's not how that shit works. It's just like, and especially in 2018, you're like, you definitely can't do that shit. And when you think about it, how are you? Here's the thing. Again, I'm very competitive. I always want to win. I know I get upset when I lose and things like that. You know, I get it. But these coaches it's not like these coaches are like on some minimum wage. I'm making money. If I'm making money, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get caught on camera.
They're trying to inspire the best out of the athlete, Kriss.
I'm not going to get caught on camera fucking up my bag. It's not going to happen. I'm going to be calling the dude over. It's like, hey, man, you want a Snickers? Not looking like yourself. Like, let's figure out what's going on. Can we talk about it? Like, I'm going to be
It's not your fault. Here goes some Patch Adams.
No.
On Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Listen.
All I know is there's got to be some sort of reckoning for assholes like Jimbo Fisher. Look, that can't be allowed. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's not how things are done. Vanderbilt won too, but none of you care about that. Top 25, Miami beat North Carolina. Prayers up for Chad Floyd, who is an alumni of North Carolina and is running the Tar Heel football blog this year for SB Nation and is suffering mightily. Okay, so this is a game I really want to talk about. Clemson came out and played Syracuse. In the news this week, Clemson's decided they were going to go with Trevor Lawrence, the freshman, as their starting quarterback. Kelly Bryant, who had led them to a national playoff game last year, decided that he was going to transfer out for his last year of eligibility. There are a lot of people in the news saying, oh, Kelly Bryant's being selfish, you got to stay with the team, or oh, Dabo Swinney did Kelly Bryant wrong. I'm here to tell you, as an advocate for the players and as someone who respects this game as it is, Dabo Swinney did nothing wrong. I know what you're saying, but Kelly Bryant did a loyalty. That's not the name of this game. The name of this game is to recruit the best athletes to do the best job possible. And this is not a move for or against Kelly Bryant. This is a move for the next five-star kid who's on the fence about going to Clemson, who says, hey, I want to go there, but there's a senior in the position I want. What Dabo Swinney just said with his biggest position is the best players will play for me. And what do I want as a recruiter? I want the kid that sees the guy in his position and says, I can take that. I want the kid who's that hungry. In Georgia right now, Jacob Eason went to an SEC title game. He got immediately replaced by Jake Fromm last year. Jake Fromm went to the national title game last year, and he's being pushed by a five-star recruit, Justin Fields. So if anything you can say, Fromm knew when he came to camp that game recognized game, I got this spot because I took it. Someone can take it from me.
Yeah.
But the story gets more interesting because Trevor Lawrence got hurt in the first quarter of the game yesterday. And they had to go to a myriad of quarterbacks. So I'm not going to pretend a name here. And they were losing to Syracuse for most of the game. They ended up pulling it out because that's what good teams do. But number 2 Clemson beating Syracuse 23-27. Some are saying this is karma. No, man, that's the game. People get hurt, people get hit, and people have to make decisions that are best for them. I don't know if Kelly Bryant's best decision was to leave Clemson. I don't know. There's a lot of tape on him at Clemson. It isn't particularly. I think it's a stronger than average quarterback class, and maybe he wants to stay another year and try to get in the next class for the NFL draft. I don't know about that. All I do know is they sure could use Kelly Bryant yesterday.
Look, man, this whole loyalty thing is the same thing I hear people say about work and things like that. No, man, fuck that. You do what's best for you. And yo, like that's the end of the game. It's like that's the game. You do what's best for you. You don't that loyalty shit. Loyalty is overrated. It
Very
is.
much so. Ohio State played Penn State in the We're Terrible People Bowl. And Ohio State won the We're Terrible People Bowl by issuing I don't know if you saw this, an advertisement earlier this week with an Ohio State player standing around a myriad of Penn State signage colored in white, and it says, in big letters, silence the noise. Based on what Urban Meyer has been recently accused and admitted to doing, probably not the best word choice. And people are like, oh, they're so tone deaf. I argue they did it on purpose.
Yeah, at this point.
Athletic departments are big organizations. This isn't like a one and done. Someone on offhand, like an intern, did this. This was a decision, and that's what makes it more crazy to me. More disgusting, even to me, is that they were able to pull off that win against Penn State last night. That was going to be the fourth spot in the national title playoff, and now it's going back to Ohio State because the rest of the Big Ten is garbage. Oklahoma beat Baylor 66-33. Kyler Murray. Look, Kyler Murray should have played baseball. Kyler Murray was drafted to play baseball and make millions of dollars. That said, Kyler Murray is playing better than Baker Mayfield did last year during his Heisman campaign. He was 17 of 21 yesterday for 432 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he ran for another. He's very good at football. Notre Dame continues its march over teams that's supposed to be good but aren't really that great. 38-17 over Stanford. Washington beat BYU 35-7. That's a team you look out for because after that opening loss to Auburn, they've really kind of righted the ship. West Virginia and Will Grier, my favorite quarterback in the country, beat Texas Tech 42-34. UCF beat Pittsburgh 45-14. Michigan was celebrating, squeaking out a victory over Northwestern in September. Northwestern is 1-2 going into the game, 1-3 now, unranked. Took Michigan to the wire as Michigan won 20-17. Texas, who had, despite the early stumble against Maryland, might be a football team, beat Kansas State 19-14. Oregon beat Cal 42-24. Michigan State beat Central Michigan 31-30. Duke falls out of the rank of the unbeatens and falls to Virginia Tech 31-14. And that's your top 25 scores. Kriss, tell everyone what's coming on the MTR network.
So what do we got coming up? We just put an Entertaining Checkup with you on, so thank you for that. The Character Corner we did with us, Robin's Part 2 will be this week. I think I'll put it out on Wednesday. Right after we get off of this, like 15 minutes from now, we are going to be talking all these Super Tuesday recap shows, so that'll be on there. We're being joined by me, you, Shannon, and the Doctor, so that'll be a fun one. And you can find everything. Just go to mtrnetwork.net or search for MTR Network on iTunes, Stitcher Radio. So, and we'll be at New York Comic Con next week, so there'll be plenty of content coming out there. So just stay tuned.
And by the way, when you go to Stitcher to check us out, make sure you enter the code Tuesday for a 1 month free subscription to Stitcher Premium. That way you can hear the entirety of Wolverine: The Long Night. Not waiting for the weekly series. You can also listen to your favorite Stitcher shows ad-free and get a peek behind the paywall and see if you want to continue going on from there. That was your show. This is your outro. See you guys next week.